The wind howled across the Montana plains on Christmas Eve, carrying with it the icy bite of winter snow. Rancher James Carver sat astride his horse, Copper, riding slowly along the perimeter of his sprawling property. He had spent the day checking on his cattle, ensuring that none of the herd had wandered into the snowdrifts, and that the barns were secure against the frigid night. The sun had long set, and the only light came from the pale glow of the moon reflecting off the snow-covered fields. As he rounded a bend near the old wooden fence that marked the edge of the property, James spotted something unusual. A small figure crouched near the frost-covered posts, shivering violently. At first, he thought it might be an animal caught in the cold, but as he approached, he realized it was a girl, no older than 10 or 11, wearing nothing more than a thin, ragged coat and worn shoes. Her small frame shook uncontrollably, and her wide, frightened eyes stared at him, silently pleading for help. James dismounted without hesitation, his tall boots crunching in the snow. "Hey there, little one," he called softly, his deep voice steady and warm despite the icy wind. "Are you all right? Come with me." The girl flinched at the sound of his voice, but there was no malice in it, only concern. Slowly, hesitantly, she moved toward him, her tiny hands tucked beneath her coat for warmth. He knelt beside her, pulling off his thick gloves to offer her something warmer. "Here," he said gently, handing her one of his wool gloves. "You must be freezing." She took it gingerly, her lips trembling as tears welled in her eyes. James placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. "Don't worry. You're safe now. Come with me, there's a fire waiting." With care, he lifted her onto a saddle blanket he had draped over Copper's back, keeping her close against the horse. The ride back to his ranch house was quiet except for the soft jingling of Copper's harness and the distant sound of snow shifting underhoof and wind. Every so often, James glanced at her, noting the exhaustion in her eyes, the way she hugged herself tightly, and the faint shivering that wouldn't quite stop. The grand ranch house finally came into view, its windows glowing warmly against the night. Smoke rose gently from the chimney, and the scent of pine and wood fire drifted through the cold air. As he opened the front door, a wave of heat enveloped them, and the girl inhaled sharply, as if tasting warmth for the first time in days. James set her down carefully and guided her to the living room, where a large fire crackled in the hearth, its golden flames dancing across the wooden walls. He handed her a thick blanket and gestured toward a chair by the fire. "Sit here. You must be starving," he said. She hesitated, unsure if she was allowed, but the kindness in his eyes melted her hesitation. For the first time in what felt like forever, she felt safe. Outside, the Montana night raged on, but inside, for this little girl and this wealthy rancher, the world felt warm and full of hope. Lily sat cautiously by the roaring fire, her small hands clutching the thick blanket James had given her. The warmth seeped into her frozen fingers and toes, and for the first time in days, she felt her body slowly stop shivering. She hugged the blanket tightly around her shoulders, breathing in the scent of pine and burning wood, a scent that felt comforting and safe. James poured her a cup of hot cocoa, the rich chocolatey steam rising toward her face. Hesitant at first, she sipped it carefully, letting the warmth spread through her chest. She had never tasted anything so soothing. "Go ahead," James said gently, "eat something too." He placed a plate of freshly baked bread and buttered cookies in front of her. The aroma was intoxicating, and her stomach growled in response. She looked at the food, unsure if she was allowed to eat so freely, but the kindness in his expression gave her permission. Slowly, she picked up a piece of bread, breaking it into smaller bites, savoring each one. Each mouthful reminded her that not everyone in the world wanted to hurt or ignore her, that some people truly cared. James watched quietly, smiling as she relaxed a little with every bite. Around the room, the decorations of Christmas glowed softly. The tree in the corner sparkled with lights, its branches weighed down with ornaments and strands of tinsel. An old record player filled the air with the gentle strains of a Christmas carol. The rancher's children peeked from the staircase, their curiosity evident. They were cautious at first, unsure how to approach a stranger, but Lily's timid smiles and polite nods soon drew them closer. Within moments, she found herself laughing at a playful joke from one of them, the sound ringing clear and joyful, a sound she had forgotten she could make. After finishing her cocoa and bread, James knelt beside her. "Lily," he asked softly, "can you tell me your story?" "Only if you want to, of course." She hesitated, but the warmth of the house, the fire, and the kindness in his eyes encouraged her. In a quiet voice, she spoke of days spent on the cold streets, the nights she had cried under bridges, and the hunger that never seemed to end. Her voice trembled, but James listened patiently, never interrupting, never judging. "I'm so glad you're here," he said finally, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "You deserve a warm home and good food. You deserve to feel safe." Lily's eyes shimmered with tears, a mixture of relief and disbelief. She had been invisible to so many, but here, she was seen. Here, she mattered. Outside, the winter wind continued to blow, but inside the Carver ranch, the warmth of fire, compassion, and budding friendship created a sanctuary. For Lily, it was more than a house, it was a promise of hope and belonging, a Christmas miracle she had never imagined possible. Over the next few days, Lily began to settle into life on the ranch, though she still moved with a cautious grace, as if expecting the harsh streets to suddenly return. James made sure she had everything she needed: warm clothes, sturdy boots, and enough food to fill her empty stomach. Each morning, he would check on her, offering a gentle smile and small words of encouragement. "You're part of this ranch now," he told her one morning as they watched the sunrise over the snow-dusted plains. "You belong here, Lily." She nodded quietly, letting his words sink into her heart. The ranch hands, initially unsure about the sudden appearance of a young girl in their midst, quickly warmed to her once they saw her gentle nature and eagerness to help. She learned to feed the chickens and goats, gather firewood, and even help with the cows, her small hands surprisingly nimble. The animals seemed to sense her kindness and need for comfort. They would nuzzle her or follow her around the barn, as if offering their own form of protection. For the first time, Lily felt a sense of connection, not just to people, but to the land and the creatures who called it home. James watched her closely, noting the way her face brightened when she laughed, a sound so pure and innocent it made the large ranch house feel brighter than any Christmas lights could. He realized that her presence had begun to fill a void he hadn't even admitted existed. Since his wife had passed years ago, he had poured himself into his work, focusing on the ranch, his animals, and his children. But something in Lily's timid smile and quiet bravery reminded him of the joy and love he had almost forgotten. Evenings became moments of shared warmth. Lily would sit by the fire with James's children, helping them decorate cookies or telling stories she had imagined during her lonely nights on the streets. Sometimes, James would join them, sharing tales from his own childhood on the ranch or simple jokes that made everyone laugh. The house, once quiet and formal, now echoed with laughter, chatter, and the occasional shriek of surprise when a mischievous goat wandered into the kitchen. One afternoon, as Lily brushed snow off the barn roof, James approached her with a gentle smile. "You've got courage," he said. "I've watched you face cold, fear, and uncertainty, and yet you keep moving forward. That's something special." Lily blushed, looking down at her boots, unsure how to respond. She had never been praised like this before. The weight of her past seemed to lift, just slightly, as if the ranch itself was telling her she was finally home. By the end of the week, it was clear to everyone that Lily wasn't just a temporary guest, she was becoming part of the family. The warmth of kindness, the structure of the ranch, and the love surrounding her were slowly healing old wounds. For James, this Christmas had become more than just a holiday, it had become a turning point. Through Lily, he rediscovered the importance of compassion, family, and the unexpected ways love could enter a life, even in the coldest, loneliest of seasons. By New Year's Eve, the ranch felt different than it had before Lily arrived. The walls, once silent except for the wind or the occasional creak of floorboards, now echoed with laughter and chatter. Lily had become part of the rhythm of the Carver household. She helped the children with small chores, learned to milk the cows, and even rode alongside James on Copper during morning rounds. Every action, no matter how simple, revealed her resilience and growing sense of belonging. For James, watching her adapt with such courage filled him with a warmth he hadn't felt in years. That evening, James stood quietly in the living room, watching Lily decorate cookies with his children. The soft glow of the fireplace and the twinkling lights of the Christmas tree reflected in her wide, innocent eyes. She laughed at a joke one of the boys told, her laughter ringing like a bell, pure and unburdened. James realized, with a quiet clarity, that he couldn't allow this child to return to the streets. Not after all she had endured, and not after the light she had brought into his home. He had come to see her as more than just a guest, she was part of his family. Later, as snowflakes drifted lazily outside, James and Lily sat together on the porch, wrapped in blankets. The sky above was a deep velvet, scattered with stars. Lily leaned her head against his shoulder, feeling safe in a way she hadn't for years. "Do you think I can stay here?" she whispered, her voice small, almost afraid. James smiled, his hand brushing a strand of hair from her face. "Lily, you're not just staying. You belong here. This is your home now. Forever." Her eyes widened in disbelief, and tears welled as relief and joy poured over her. The following days were filled with the legal steps necessary to make her part of the Carver family officially. Paperwork, signatures, and small meetings with lawyers. James took care of everything, ensuring it was done quickly and properly. Throughout it all, Lily stayed close, her eyes shining with trust and anticipation. She had never imagined that someone would care so deeply, that she could have a home filled with warmth, safety, and love. Finally, the day came when everything was official. James knelt beside her, holding her small hands in his. "Lily, you are now officially part of this family. Not just by choice, but by law. You are ours, and we are yours. Always." She threw her arms around him, hugging him tightly, sobbing softly. The ranch house, decorated for the season, seemed to glow even brighter, as if celebrating this new bond. That night, under a sky sparkling with stars and a gentle blanket of snow, the family gathered by the fire. Lily hummed a little Christmas tune, James's children danced around, and James held her hand, feeling the fullness of a heart restored. He realized that in saving her from a cold, lonely Christmas, he had found something even greater, a renewed sense of family, hope, and the power of kindness. That night, in a cozy Montana ranch, love had created a miracle that neither time nor hardship could ever take away.